2.5 years ago, I filmed a video of the 5 essential accessories every RV owner needs. Are they still the same today? Find out in this episode of Travels with Delaney. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Patrick, and if this is your first time here at Travels with Delaney, welcome. We're your channel all about RVs and living life to the fullest. So one of our largest videos here on YouTube was a video I shot 2.5 years ago where I named my 5 essential accessories that every RVer needed. Now, one of the reasons I made that video was I wanted new RVers, when they went to pick up their trailer or motorhome or whatever, that they didn't buy a bunch of products they didn't need, at least until they found out what they actually did need. But these were 5 items that I really felt like all RVers were going to need for that first camping trip. Are they still the same, and am I still using those same products? Well, that's what we're going to look at in this episode. So let's go ahead and start with item number 1. Now, unless you're buying an RV that doesn't have tanks on it, i.e. a gray tank or a black tank, you're going to need a sewer hose. Now, 2.5 years ago, I talked about this Camco RhinoFlex sewer hose, and I'm still loving this hose today. Now, I did go ahead and buy a new one last year because our old one started to get some holes in it, but I love this product and bought the same exact one. One of the reasons I love it is, number one, the hose itself is nice and sturdy and strong, and I really like that. I also like the fact that it comes with caps for both ends of the hose, so when you're traveling, you can actually cap it and have nothing leak from it. And finally, I love that they're now using these clear bayonets, so you can actually see if clear water is coming out when you're dumping your black tank. So I really like that. Now, we use the 15-foot hose because it fits in our trailer storage area. But they also sell a 20-foot, and what's nice about that is they actually send you 2 10s that you connect together. So I would definitely highly recommend the Camco RhinoFlex because you are going to need a sewer hose in order to dump your black and gray tanks. The second item on my list of must-have accessories is a water hose. Now, I still believe you're going to have a water hose because if you want to hook up to city water or you want to fill your fresh water tanks, you're going to need one. Now, 2.5 years ago, I was using one of these Camco RV marine grade water hoses. It was 25 foot, and honestly, it worked great, and I love it. The main thing is when you're buying a water hose, make sure that it is for drinking water and it's safe to use for that purpose. But I have recently changed out my hose, and I actually switched to this 0G water hose. Now, one of the reasons I switched was, you can see it's one of these kind of like flexible, soft hoses, and I actually went to a 50-foot hose this time. Now, the 25-foot hose was working great with this camper because I can park it really close to where the water is. If you have a larger camper, though, you may not have as many options for where to position your RV. And in that case, then you may want to have either 2 25s or a 50-foot. I just went with the 150-foot. And the reason I switched to this 0G hose is the fact that you can see 50 feet actually doesn't take up that much space because it's very pliable and soft when it's not being used. Now, one of my biggest concerns with going to one of these was, would the water pressure still be good? And after the first few uses, we've seen no issues with that, and I know a lot of other YouTube RVers are using these, so it made me feel pretty comfortable in purchasing it. Now, in addition to a water hose, in that original video, I talked about a couple other things you might want to consider right up front. Number one, at a minimum, I would consider a water pressure regulator. Now, most trailers are rated for somewhere between 50 and 60 psi, but it's possible you could be hooking up to a water system that's coming out at a much higher rate. So what one of these little devices does is you just screw it into your hose, and it's going to keep your water pressure at 50 psi. Now, they make more advanced ones where you can actually set the psi to what you want, but that's really more of an upgrade. It's not necessarily a requirement, but I would highly recommend one of these. I also talked about using a water filter. Now, we use these fairly inexpensive water filters, and I just want to make clear, all this really is going to do, it's not going to turn undrinkable water into drinkable water. That's not what it's designed to do. All this really does is maybe turn water into a better tasting or a less smelly water. And so because these are inexpensive, I still use them, even though I know that they have a very short lifespan. Typically I change them out about every 3 months, and I know that they're not filtering like some of the more advanced advanced systems. But for the cost, it's still a nice thing to have. And finally, I mentioned a third item in that original video. And depending on how your trailer's water port is, you might want to consider one of these 90-degree elbows. And what that does is it allows you to go ahead and plug this into your trailer so that your hose comes straight down. Otherwise, if you plug into your trailer, then that hose is bending, putting stress on that water port. So this is a fairly inexpensive item, and all it does is it helps to take some of that stress off of your hose hanging off of your trailer. The third item on my list dealt with electricity, and it's one of these converter Dogbones. Basically what it does is it's going to step down power. Now, depending on what RV you own, you're probably either going to have a 30 amp plug or a 50 amp plug. We have a 30 amp plug. So this Dogbone, as it's known, will actually plug in to our 30 amp plug, and notice it converts it into a household plug. Now, why would I carry one of these? Two reasons. Number one, it is possible you could come across a park that only has 15 amp service, and you're standing there with this plug and it's not going to work. So what this is going to do is it's going to step down the power to 15 amps so you can still run several of the items in your trailer. The second reason I like to have one of these is we like to keep our trailer plugged in here at home. I don't have a 30 amp box, so I can plug it into the outdoor outlet, and that way we can get our refrigerator or the trailer cooled down or whatever it is we want to do here at the house. Now, if you have a 50 amp plug, you can also step those down as well. It's all just going to depend on what your trailer's cord looks like. This is a fairly inexpensive item, and I have used it many times and definitely recommend it. The fourth item on the list deals with electrical, and it's a surge protector. Now, 2.5 years ago, this was the surge protector I was using. It was one of the Progressive Industries. You just plug it into the post, and then what it does is it has little indicator lights here that will let you know if the power post that you're plugging into is acceptable to plug into. And if there's any issues with that power post, it's going to let you know, and that's going to tell you you're not going to want to plug your trailer in. Once it's safe, you would then go ahead and plug into the box. Now, since that time, I've actually upgraded. And what I ended up going to was this Hughes Autoformers Power Watchdog. Now, it's also a surge protector, and it will tell me whether the power at the post is good or not. But what it also does is it's an electrical management system. It's going to control the power throughout our entire stay at a campground. That way, if there's actually a surge, it's going to shut the power off right at the box and protect our trailer. And you can also link to an app on your smartphone with this particular one and see exactly how much energy is coming in and how much you're using, and you can do all kinds of things with it. Now, what's the big difference between the two? Well, one, this actually will protect you throughout your stay, where the other one's really just telling you whether it's safe to plug in or not. The other big issue is price. This one is over double the price of one of the basic ones. At a minimum, you want one of the basic ones just to make sure you know what you're plugging into. But if you can go ahead and afford the upgrade, then I would highly suggest that for you. The fifth item on my list of RV essential accessories is leveling and chocks. Now, when you get to your campsite, there's a possibility you're going to need to level your trailer from left to right. And the way you're going to want to do that is to use some kind of leveling device. Now, 2.5 years ago, I recommended and was using this Anderson leveler, and I can tell you we're still using the same leveler 2.5 years later. I absolutely love these. Now, the way these work is it's almost like leveling and chalk built into one. So what I would do is I would either insert this on the side of the trailer that I need to raise, and I can either insert it on the front and pull the trailer up, or I can insert it behind and back the trailer up. So I do it just like this. I'm going to pull my trailer up, and when we get to level, I'm then going to slide the chuck that comes with it on the back side, and that's going to kind of lock the tire in place, and it's going to help level your trailer. Now, I still really like this and would recommend it. I have heard some people say that on slick surfaces, sometimes these will slip. Now, we've only ever had that happen once, and ours has gotten roughed up enough that it pretty much stays in place anytime. What we did the one time we had an issue was I really had to stick it under, kind of bury it in, and that gave it enough to just roll it on, and we had no issues. Now, the alternative, if you don't like this, is people will use these levelers, kind of like big Legos for kids, and you kind of lay them out and you can stack them. The thing that I don't necessarily like about these is you have to figure out how many high you need to go to get level. And when we used to use these, we found that we would try it on a level and then it wasn't level, and then we pull it up and keep stacking them up. With the Anderson, you just keep pulling forward until you get to level. So it makes the process a lot easier. The other thing that I would like to recommend is you carry some kind of chock for the other wheel, or if you have more than one axle, so you can chock the other tires. Now this is just a real cheap plastic one. They're not necessarily the best in the world, but they are inexpensive. I would recommend upgrading to maybe a solid rubber one, and that's going to be a lot better for you. But at a minimum, get you some of these cheap plastic ones, and that's going to help keep your trailer from rolling. Finally, in that original video, I gave everyone a bonus accessory, and that was this Camco scissor jack socket that you can put into a drill. Now, I'm still using this same accessory. The only thing that's changed is I upgraded my drill from a Ryobi to this DeWalt 20 volt max. And if you do not have electronic stabilizers, this makes putting down your stabilizers really quick. 5 accessories that most new RV owners are going to need. Even though I've upgraded a few of them, the list really hasn't changed in the last 2.5 years. Now I'm going to go ahead and link a video up here for you on how we secure our trailer and what lock we're using. If you're new to RVing, welcome to the RV community, and we hope you have a great summer in your new RV. And if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Until next time, everybody, we'll see ya on down the road. Good night.